November 15th to submit the new statement of interest. Actually, it will be revised substantially because of the new format. So I will be coming to the school committee and the Board of Selectmen on November 10th. We will need to take another vote officially to submit the statement of interest. We have to select a priority, and we've selected the high school statement of interest as the priority. And we're meeting with all members of the secondary building committee, Mr. Hardiker, Mr. Bernard, and looking at every aspect of this facility, of the high school facility. And we'll be submitting that on November 15th to the Mass School Building.
We have a joint meeting on the 10th with the selectmen already scheduled, correct? So we'll be able to do that at that time. Do you want to talk at all at this point? We're talking about building projects, about the batch and
Oh,
news?
yes, very good news. I don't know how I can forget that. Representative Brad Jones notified us at the end of last week that the Mass School Building Authority has decided to reimburse another $2 million. We'll be receiving that check actually tomorrow at 9 o'clock at the Batchelder School. Catherine Craven from MSBA will, and I don't know whether Treasurer Tim Cahill will be here, but we will have a presentation of another $2 million check. Our reimbursement rate is just over 50%. We're really delighted at that. We received extra points for the renovation and several other items, so that we're pushed over the 50%. And this is tremendous news, given the fact that when the project was approved during the moratorium, there was no hope of reimbursement. So a lot of hard work by the building committee, school administration, Representative Jones to really secure this funding for North Reading. We do anticipate probably an additional $2 million beyond the 5 and the 2 that we're going to get tomorrow. Pretty close to $9 million of the $18.4 million should be reimbursed, and that final check will come when the audit is finalized. And my understanding is that the town hall has been working to collect the information on that audit, and that information now has been submitted.
Right, I spoke to Joe Tassoni the other day, and he said that that has been submitted, and now we just wait for probably some questions, but final approval, and then we'll get the final check. And you know, while this doesn't give us any more money for our operating budgets, it does have an impact on tax rates, because that's debt you won't be paying for. And I think it's important to note that a school that we initially paid $18.4 million is now probably going to cost the town. The town will support about $9.5 million of that, or maybe a little more, and almost half will come from the state. And as Dr. Troten said, we had no plans to get money for this school, because we went forward knowing that there was a moratorium and knowing that we probably weren't going to get any money for this project. So the administration's worked hard, the school building committee worked hard, our state representatives and senators have worked hard, and now we've gotten that money, and I think it's a feather in the administration's cap for working hard and being responsible to bring that money back from the state. Mistakes?
I think we should make it clear to the community that we're not going to, we don't get the money
Right.
to play with. It's
Right.
going to go straight into debt service. Is
Yes.
that correct?
There were,
Reduce
reduce the
our
debt.
debt.
There was a large number that they had not bonded, Carl, right? They kept, I guess they called them bands, or, I don't know if you want to explain.
Short-term, right, and you have an option of, when you're looking for debt, you can either go short-term or long-term. So in anticipation and of the hoped-for funds, the town borrowed on a short-term basis for a lot of the money. Bond anticipation notes.
So this money will go to cover those, pay those off, correct? So that's good news. So we'll vote on, we don't need any action tonight, we'll just vote on that on the 10th, David, on the high school?
Right.
Okay, next, fiscal year 10 budget development. We had a workshop last Monday night, and basically we kind of used that workshop to throw out any and every idea that we could think of, whether whether good or bad, at this point, no ideas are bad. Looking at the current position of the state finances and what they may be moving forward, we decided to have this workshop to talk about how we might, how we might change some things. And I guess the bottom line when we left that workshop was, we're going to, whatever amount of money we have for the budget, we're going to build a school system that will adequately educate the students of North Reading. It's hard to go forward with a lot of the questions that we have right now in terms of state finances, and we won't really know the big impact till they start seeing what the capital gains, what the capital gains taxes are going to look like, and there's expectation that they're going to be a lot lower than they have in previous years. Right now, they haven't cut, the state has not cut any local aid, except they did cut some of the circuit breaker fund for special education and possibly some minor cuts in some of the transportation funds that we get. But right now, the cuts have been minimal. But David, I don't know if you want to address this. We also have we probably can. So from that, we didn't sit down and say we approve this idea, we approve that idea. We're gonna add this. We're gonna change this. We're gonna do this. I think we just kind of set out a bunch of ideas that we need to look at in order to form the fiscal 2010 budget, and it's not going to be easy because our goal is to preserve what we have now. That would be our goal, but that's going to be difficult. Right. I don't know if you wanted to specifically address the two.
Well, I think we know, at least as superintendents, that Chapter 70 is not likely to go up, and that we can probably or should be planning a budget that is based on minimally a 0% increase in Chapter 70, and perhaps also another budget that would be a decrease in Chapter 70. As Mr. Webster said, the circuit breaker funding is going to be at 72%, and that we won't be seeing any additional money that typically goes up to 75%. That money is usually held aside and then given to school departments at the end of the year, and can be used for extraordinary unanticipated tuitions and other special education costs. We are going to be negotiating this year with the Teachers Association, and while we haven't started that, we'll be planning that to start that soon. And I know we're going to continue to work with the finance planning team. In fact, we have a meeting on Wednesday morning of this week, and we'll be talking more about, again, the update on the anticipated revenue for FY10. I know the school committee is very eager and has always worked well with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee in terms of sharing information and really working collaboratively to plan for the budget.
I think we've set a pretty aggressive schedule again this year to get. I think we asked Mr. Nelson to come back with. Did we ask for two budgets? One that was no change in revenues at all, and then maybe one with a couple $350,000 increase, or I can't remember exactly what we.
Well, I'm certainly will take direction from the committee. What I got from our discussion was that we would work together to create two preliminary budgets that we hope to issue in mid-December. One preliminary budget would be a level services budget,
right,
just to kind of get a sense for what it costs to move everything forward.
Right.
And the other budget would be a budget that met present revenues plus, and I think the number we used was about $350,000. So in other words, in simple terms, add $350,000 to this year's budget so that we can see what the impact of such a budget would be. We understand these are preliminary budgets that can move in either direction, but at least give the committee and the public a sense for the parameters that we face.
I think the one thing we need to be prepared for, as David just mentioned, is a no revenue increase budget, and you hope not, but possibly a lower revenue budget. But I think those are probably the two we should start from, 350, and because as we're going to talk in a second about fiscal 09, we may be facing issues this year, which we've already started to address.
And I think it's important to say that to stay within available revenues, we capped at 350. That would mean about $1 million decrease over current level of spending.
Yes, it would.
overall, we should be experiencing something in the range of 700,000 or 800,000 in our contracts.
That's correct. The committee also asked us to put together some other scenarios, for example, what would be the cost of making all of our after-school programs self-supporting, such as extracurricular,
Right.
such as athletics.
Athletics
Right.
and busing, which we
And
already
busing.
is.
I have one question on busing, Carla, from the, and I'm gonna report on this the other night, but from the fiscal advisory committee, in terms of when the kids get older, we have fewer stops, correct?
Correct.
Is there any money saving that comes from that? In other words, if we have fewer stops, the buses have to travel fewer miles, and it was just a question that was thrown out, and I said, I don't think it would have an impact on our current contract, but I don't know if moving forward, it would have any impact at all, so.
It does. It does have an impact, and it does save funds, because when you are developing your specifications for the transportation bid, you put in those specifications how many stops, how many buses are going to be on the move all the time. And when you quantify that by the number of stops, there is a concomitant price decrease based on those specifications. But I'd like to add one other comment to that. The reason there are less stops for middle school and high school isn't so much to save funds, but it's really a time and motion issue. Because think of elementary, you are devoting, you have an early and a late start, so you have 11 buses that can provide service to Tier 1, 11 buses that can provide service to Tier 2, meaning the 2 elementaries. But then all of your buses, when they're providing service to the entire community, there's no way you can have that neighborhood coverage. It's just a matter of, you only have about 14 minutes.
Right.
So the buses are providing service to the entire town as opposed to just a neighborhood, an elementary district.
Okay.
That's really what drives the less stops. And frankly, the thinking is that older children can walk more than 1 or 2 houses to a stop.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on what we're gonna do for fiscal 2010? I think basically right now, our goal is to wait for, we'll continue to discuss issues, but wait till we see the budgets from Carl. I think we said December, correct?
Yes.
Sometime in December. Okay. Right. Now, fiscal 09 budget management. David, you wanna address
Yeah,
this?
and I apologize, part of the budget freeze is to make sure that everyone copies things on double-sided
I know,
paper.
Yes.
And so you were missing items number 3 through 7. So,
I noticed that on the.
I don't want you to get alarmed. I'm going to pass it
I like
around,
the less
so.
paper thing.
Right.
Yeah, so let's do this. So you need to have a whole lot.
Bet they did.
I
haven't read it.
Yeah, here it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is this that stern letter you sent to the administrators?
Yes.
Stern letter?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
You
was,
heard about that?
no,
Yep.
I read the cover, I went, wow,
Uh-huh.
stern words.
Well, we are in a budget freeze, and we have been for at least 2 weeks. And at least coming out of the finance planning team meeting 2 weeks ago, it was clear to everyone who attended that meeting that based on the revenue projections for fiscal '09, these are based on fiscal '08, that we are looking at the potential for a deficit. Now, there's been several numbers that have been thrown around, but the number that was no, call. No, that's not it. This is a draft.
Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I'm going to be going over the items. The number that has been talked about was up to $350,000. And then a week ago at the Board of Selectmen meeting, I believe the number that I heard was more than double that amount, 729. I'm not sure where it is right now. We'll find out on Wednesday. But I want to let the committee know that the budget freeze that the school department has been working on is a